close. I see the world, but it's through this window. Another side to see, I'm ready to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. He's from the city, she's from the south. Two different chapters told miles out. They're back row living in his White House. So many stories that I need to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. So many stories right in front of me. Some people climb to heights I've never seen. Too many falling down off their feet. These stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are.
How about now? Can you hear anything now? But it's a black screen still. I don't know why. Okay, I have sound, but I don't have a picture. You should probably be able to hear. You should probably be able to hear us talk. So y'all can talk. So help fill the space while I'm looking for a video.
Oh.
Okay.
We are here. We are here.
I know, really.
You know what that's from?
I do. It's a Horton Hears a Who.
Here's
Yeah.
Who.
Okay, so I see everybody now. So okay. I see tiny little pictures.
Bandcamp, right?
Any little pictures? Yeah.
Yeah, you see the tiny little pictures? Why are they tiny? I don't know why they're tiny.
I can see. Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's do this right here.
That's very small, but yeah.
Yeah, hold on. It's getting bigger. Okay, so
Oh, things that could be said.
I know.
stop it.
How to behave.
So hello everyone. We are live, and Gus says we can hear you. Oven says hello, Silverline family. Hello, Oven. Okay,
Hello.
so yeah, I'm at the controls tonight, which is very scary. I'm gonna try to figure this out. I've got the stuff up there. We are live, which is better than the last time I tried this. And so I'm glad for that. So I'm probably gonna I'm going to introduce myself real quick, and I'm going to turn it over to y'all. Y'all just go one after the other, and I'm going to play with the controls. So welcome to Silver Sunday. This is today we're going to talk about adaptations again. We're going to be talking comics to animation. Last time we talked comics to film. This time we're going to be talking comics to animation. I'm Roland Mann. I am the Chief Wrangler at Silverline. I am the writer of Cat and Mouse and of Trumps, both of which are Kickstarting, and we'll get to those a little bit later because we still need your help. We got some cool stretch goals, and we want you to help us get there. So that's me. So you guys introduce yourselves while I play with the pictures here a little bit.
All right, I'll go first. My name's Barb Kelberg. I am the inker on the current Kickstarter, one of those, Cat and Mouse. Have reached our goal, but we would like to reach our stretch goals now. The link will be in the comments, won't it?
I'll put it there, yeah.
Okay. I am also the creator and the co-writer, the inker and the colorist for Divinity, one of their other books. I'm also coloring Sirens, and I also am the CFO of Silverline. How about Curtis? It's your turn.
Okay, I'm Curtis Fujita. I'm the creative director at Silverline. I'm also the editor on the Kayla series, and I'm an artist having worked in comic books, video games, and animation. I'm going to go ahead and send it over to Aaron Humphreys. So Aaron, go ahead.
Thanks, Curtis. My name's Aaron Humphreys. I am the penciler on Fire Rush, which we just finished kickstarting, I think, last month. And I do my own comic, Goblins, which you can find on Webtoons and on my store and stuff. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all I do. And then hopefully there'll be more coming from me from Silverline in the future. I'll turn it over to John, the Viking Prince Voltan Martin.
Hi, I'm John. I'm the inker on Fire Rush. I also do other things here or there, like draw sketch cards and things like that. I'm actually working on a Fire Rush issue 2 page right here. Other than that, that's it. Peter's alive.
Is it me? Where am I? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Peter Clinton. I'm just a penciler on the upcoming Champion. Is what we're calling it, and Roland, that's probably going to be what we do call it, I think. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just a penciler. That's what I'm going to get a cap that says. Yeah, just a penciler.
Just a penciler.
Also did
Silverline. I'm just a penciler.
Yeah, also did the cover B for the Cat and Mouse #3, which is kickstarting.
And it's a sweet
So go
looking
get
cover
that.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. The ink and the color has saved it.
And if I can chime in, Peter's got some amazing commissions that are available. If any of you are interested in some awesome work done, Peter's
Yeah, thanks.
available right
Yeah.
now. Yeah,
Just drop
yeah,
me a
great
message
stuff.
on Facebook or Instagram or
Yeah.
no, that's it. Yeah, do that.
It's
one.
worth it, man. Some cool stuff.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Are you able to pull up the merchandise of the week?
No, I've you know what
Oh.
I've been I know I'm gonna get in trouble. I have been trying to figure out how to open it, but I cannot figure that out.
We do have a merch store.
We do.
We encourage people to go look. We've got all kinds of fun things available, and if you don't see something there that you want, you can always contact us. And if you want to see a particular character from Silverline, we can make that happen for you.
Good me.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Definitely. Yeah, there was a really cool cat mouse from Cat and Mouse that you guys can see when you go on the
Yes.
site. But you can look on it on the Zazzle site. It's pretty cool stuff. So
Yeah,
It's the one with Mitch Faust and my inks of Cat. It's beautiful. Mitch
Yes.
did such a wonderful job on it.
super
Very
solid.
dynamic.
And the current Kickstarter is doing very well right now.
We're
Where
funded
we
now,
at,
right?
Paul? You're funded, yeah.
It is
Yeah.
funded and on the stretch goals.
Yep, we want the stretch goals now because
Yes,
there's
we
a lot
do.
of cool ones. And the coolest one, I think, is it? How much do we have to make till we get to the digital download of the original Cat and Mouse?
Well, let me just pop over there and see what it says. Kickstarter. Since I'm here, I think I've got it figured out where we can at least be here. I think I can. Whoever's going to stream, I can pin you. I figured that out. It's possible I might figure out how to add a second window to do both, but I'm not sure. I'll have to play with that a little bit. So, all right. So to get for our first stretch goals that we've announced here are, we decided we would do them in $500 increments. So our goal was 4,000, and we are at 4,350. So we are 150 away from the first stretch goal, which is bookmarks, and you can see the bookmarks on the Kickstarter page. The first images that come up on story. One side is Cat and Mouse, one side is Trumps. And of course, Demon asked the question that all readers want to know. You're quitting there? Sure, I'll save your place, wimp. So, if you have to use the bookmark, there it is. And so that's at 4,500, and at 5,000 then, the next $500. This is the digital bonus, Barb, I think you might have been talking about.
Mhm.
This is the one where we're going to scan the EF Graphics version of Cat and Mouse #1 from 1989. And we're going to scan it complete with the proposal. So those of you who are aware of that, that'll be in there. We'll scan all those pages too. This is the only version of the first volume of Cat and Mouse that was in color. So afterwards, to the next publisher, Aircel, when Malibu picked this up, everything was in black and white. So this is a color book. We'll scan it and try to make it look as good as possible in the scan. And you're also going to get a scan of the very first script of Cat and Mouse, which is all handwritten. And you can see this is the very, very first handwritten script for Cat and Mouse #1. Yes, these pages are yellowed a little bit. I did not even know my wife had these things until we were talking about it. And she's like, "Oh, I have those." And I'm like, "What?" So,
I've seen that.
Yeah.
I'm glad I read your typing instead of your writing.
Yep. But you can see here it's they've been been sitting in a notebook for a long time, or they were sitting in a notebook for a long time. This is actually all kinds of extra notes as well as I still do everything when I can. I still do everything Marvel style. So this is the script portion of it, where this is the plot. This is the script portion. So so we'll scan this in for everyone. If we can reach that the $5,000, they come in $500 increments. The $5,000 stretch goal. And then of course the next one, no, we didn't announce the next one. The next one though, I can tell you this, and the reason I didn't announce them because I'm working on the images still. The next one is trading cards. So we've got, those of you who saw and backed the first couple of cat and mouse Kickstarters, yes, I'm going into a drawer to dig out visual aids for you. Know that we've had 2 trading cards so far. First one was Widowmaker, and the next one was Mouse. We've even numbered them 1 and 2.
Oh.
Yep, got information on there, and this is the mouse that Barb was talking about a little bit earlier. Gorgeous stuff. So the next one is going to be Cat, and we've got a Kevin West piece that Kevin did for us in the very first issues Kickstarter. An original went to some proud owner, I don't remember who, but we're going to use that on the front part of the card. And then Barb has just finished inking the part that will go on the back. And Roberta has already colored the front image of Cat, but is working on coloring the back image of Cat. Kasisi says, Trump's trading cards too. Yes, we are going to make a Trump's trading card. We are working on that one as well. And again, because they're stretch goals, I don't have them ready. But we are, the first one is penciled. And it looks really good. I'll give you a little hint as to what these trading cards might represent, kind of look like. Yeah. This
Cool.
this
So
gives you an idea.
I love it.
So the first one is the Ace of Clubs, and oh my goodness, it looks really, really, really good. And so I'm very excited about that. They're not ready to show you yet, so I can't show you, but that will be the stretch goal for the $5,500 mark for stretch goals. So still lots of original art, y'all. I know the last time I checked, there were still Alex Gallimore commissions. There were still a couple Thomas Hedgeland commissions. Those things actually went really quick, and so he opened it back up for 2 more commissions. Kind of kicked himself. He goes, I should have done 4 to begin with. And so I think there's still at least 1 there, but there's certainly a lot of original art. If you're an original art fan, go check it out, because a lot of this stuff is you're really getting at a steal. These are kind of the right about the prices that you would pay from these artists at a convention. And not only do you get the original artwork, but you get the Kickstarter books, both of the Kickstarter books, and then of course all the goodies that comes with the signed card and all the stuff that comes with that signed edition. So steal of a deal. So get over there, back to Kickstarter, help us out, help us get those stretch goals. Share. We know that you may not be able to pledge at the level that you want to pledge. Certainly understand that 2020 has been one of those years, but you can share, and that's the thing. It doesn't cost you anything to do that, and everybody has geeky friends who likes comic books. So share away. So yeah, merch store, please go. Wife is going to kick me when she realizes I didn't put. She sent me I think Barb described it, or Curtis one described it. It's the one with mouse that looks really, really nice. It's the one I really should be drinking out of now instead of my Razorbacks, because they let me down Saturday, and I'm very unhappy. But
yeah, remember, a cat and mouse will never let you down.
That's right. That's right. So I do want to apologize again for everybody watching. I am trying to turn all the knobs and push all the buttons, and I've usually got some help, so I'm trying to figure it all out. So if you see the pictures move on the screen while somebody's talking, all my fault. I'm just still trying to figure things out. So I'm gonna try not to talk as much with this one. Tommy says hello everyone. Actually, he says howdy everyone. Kaz says hello all. And Kasisi says Facebook is working, so that's good. Yeah, Kasisi is excited about the Trump's trading card. Very good. He's got a yes with 1, 2, 3, 4 exclamation points. So yeah, it's gonna be a sweet looking card. So okay, so before we get started, who's going to share that I can try to pin you? See if I can figure this out.
I think John is John.
Yeah,
he's got
I think
one up there
is
already,
John already sharing, or
He's got a different camera, another camera up there, isn't he?
Yep. So let me
Yeah, that's
see.
why I was trying to figure out how to change the name on it so I can go inking happening here.
What did I just do here? It's back. Okay, so let's while I figure this out, somebody start talking about let's just kind of keep the same thing that we did when we were talking about movies. Let's talk about the first. Let's talk about the worst adaptations. So the comic to animation. Let's talk about the worst ones first. We'll get those out of the way, and then we will move over to the ones that we think are the best. So somebody go first. I'm going to try to mute myself if I can't figure out how to do that. So I'm just gonna keep here while y'all talk and I try to figure this out.
What is the worst of that adaptation?
Yeah, I know that's a tough one actually.
It is kind of, yeah.
I can't say Marvel hasn't quite hit the nail on the head in movie adaptations and animation.
Yeah, I agree. They've DC's been. I like a lot of the DC animated.
Been knocking it out of the park animation wise. Well, Marvel has just been kind of like, we got the live action.
I can say sorry. I can say that one that I don't mind the animation, but I didn't like is I don't like how for some weird reason back in the day on Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends and on the X-Men pilot, Wolverine had an Australian accent. I thought that was insane. I'm still traumatized by that. So as far as voiceover work, that gets the downvote. The animation was okay.
Yeah, the animation in those were great, especially the X-Men pilot. I actually watched that a few days ago, and I was just like, even as a kid, I was like, wow. Yeah, I didn't get Wolverine's, but then I was thinking like, well, what would a Canadian accent? But then, I mean, do you want Wolverine going like, okay, bub, I'm gonna like,
yeah. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Yeah. I love all my Canadian neighbors, but I'm just trying to figure out how you do a Canadian accent.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you would do that. So
I can't say I'm not sure about the whole when Marvel went anime.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I forgot about that. Those straight to video ones, like.
Yeah, they did like the X-Men, and they did like the Punisher, didn't they?
Yes.
And Iron Man too. Iron Man too.
They did a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
I never watched them, but I know they did a bunch of them.
I never saw those ones.
The X-Men one was pretty cool. I
thought it should have hit the mark more, but it didn't, right?
Yeah.
It was kind of off. Yeah.
It was cool to see him animated. I mean, if anything, the action scenes I thought would definitely benefited the X-Men. I think the X-Men are easier to translate than like the Punisher. I don't know if the Punisher fits anime as much.
I couldn't help but laugh at the whole Berserker rage scene.
Yeah.
One of those.
Because didn't Wolverine actually like transform? Yeah. I remember those. Well, that kind of came on the heels of remember when they did the big manga influence in comics in the late 90s?
Yeah.
Where they had like Marvel manga and all this stuff.
The Joe Mad era?
Yeah. Kind of, yeah. Which, I mean, I like some of that stuff, but it was like, they were just like, let's turn all American comics into manga just for a little bit and see what happens. That was kind of interesting. I did the Fantastic Four. I do remember the Fantastic Four and like Sue Storm lost clothing. Like her suit became more skimpier, like the sort of anime skimpy. And I was like, oh, so I guess anime and manga means less like sexier clothing, I guess. I don't know. It seems a little weird. They changed the costumes a little bit. I remember in some of those.
I don't know. Some of the anime I've seen are pretty damn risque.
Oh yeah, yeah. They some of them you don't watch with your other friends. Like, you know, I like this for the plot. I read it for the articles.
For the articles, right?
I got into anime the same way that Samuel L. Jackson got into anime.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ninja Scrolls.
Oh yeah, Ninja Scrolls intense, man. That was cool.
And he did Afro Samurai. That I really liked the Afro Samurai series Samuel Jackson did. I don't know if you guys saw that.
That's a good show.
Yeah.
Good show.
I have a hard time watching any animation that they just have the mouth go like this and they just fit words in there. It's so bad. The mouth doesn't match anything. It's so cheaply done.
Yeah.
A lot of Hanna-Barbera stuff.
Well, do you know the animation scenes? Like that's why anime has these phenomenal action sequences, because they'll cut corners during certain dialogue, right? So The formula is always
Yeah.
wide shot, where it's just the silhouettes, and you have the
Same.
dump exposition dump there. So it's just the figures. So you don't have to animate their voices or anything. And then whenever they're talking complicated, they'll be holding a book or something like this while they're talking. If you look for it, you'll see it, or it'll always be the back. If it's like me and if I'm talking this way and this person's talking this way, the person with the back will say everything, and this person will say yes, and then it'll switch, and he'll talk.
Yeah.
But that's why when they get to the animation like the fight scenes are insane because they spent all that time cutting corners on that front.
Oh,
end,
so
you
that's
know?
why Spider-Man in the '90s was so cool, because they didn't have to cut any corners because they didn't have to draw them out.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
And they have
I
to
think
match
also-
the words.
It helps with translation because I mean that way, if it's in Japanese and translated into American into the language, the just moving mouths, you can have any words come out of there, and it just it just mimics it. It's
yeah.
not mimicking anything in particular.
Well, that was the
So-
whole Speed Racer thing. You remember how Speed Racer would always have grunts? It would be like a lot of dialogue. I'm the best in the world, and I think I'm going to do great. Eh? And they would always throw this really weird because they're trying to fill in the syllables from the
That
original
makes
Japanese dialogue.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. It was always like these weird syllables in that. So
That was always so
funny.
funny. I mean, even they even do a little bit in actual manga. Like you see these huge word balloons and like just a little tit on English because the Japanese the kanji
Yeah.
filled up so much space, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
I actually inked the VHS video covers for Speed Racer when I was working for
Oh, really?
Capcom. I did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's fun.
Cool. How was that? How was that?
It was great. I mean, I felt like, oh, this is as close as I'm ever going to get to Hollywood. It turned out later I did do some stuff for Nickelodeon, but that at the time that was like, this is my big break in Hollywood. I'm doing VHS covers. So
Yeah, that's cool.
I guess as I sit here and think about it, I guess when we talk about worst animations, I mean, really, unless you divide them up in times, the older ones don't hold up as well.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the
Like the
old
really
Silver
old Marvel?
Surfer one, oh my gosh, I can't watch it now.
what is it?
The old Silver Surfer. Well, like the old
Oh.
classic Spider-Man's, the one that had
Oh.
the 70s. I mean, it's
Yeah.
classic now, but it's it's. But then again, I guess it's funny if you talk about movies adaptation. We're talking about movie like plot and story. It seems when people think about bad adaptations in the animation, we're actually talking about the animation itself a lot.
Yeah.
Most people will go to that first, besides story and stuff.
Because getting a story right in animation is easier than getting a story
It
right
is.
in live action.
Right, because you can draw and make anything, so it's not. There's no excuse to not do it exactly how it is in the comic. You can't be like, well, I can't. I don't have enough budget to draw Galactus. I'm like, well, yeah, if you can draw anything. So
Do you
And I
guys
know-
remember the sorry, go ahead, Bob.
I said, I know this is a huge anime influence, but the propensity to put speed lines, it just drives me crazy. I don't know why.
Because
You
CC
guys remember?
the Transformers in the 2000 era were crappy.
yeah,
Yes.
And then he said, what do you guys think of the old Conan animated series?
I don't know about
that was
that
where they
one.
were turning people to stone, wasn't it? The bad guys turning people to stone. Is that the one? Because CC have to
Uh,
answer this.
I think it
you'll have
was-
to answer. Yeah, it
I-
can't
I
be
love that one.
the Dark Horse motion
No.
comics.
no,
Those were terrible.
I
they kept
remember.
trying to.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go on.
I just remember seeing all the motion comics because I would always be like, "Hey, they adapted this comic into a movie." Then I look close. I'm like, "Wait a minute, it's just motion comics." Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not falling for that.
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, those are called
That's like those
lit-downs.
original. You guys remember the old Marvel animated ones, like really early on, where it was just flat images and they would just have like the lips move and it was just
That's-
completely still
that's-
images?
Look, that's what gets my vote for worst animation.
Yeah,
Because
there's a charm
those
to it, but
Oh, those were so bad.
Yeah.
And here's why, because someone will say, oh, well, it was the time. No. Right. You go back and you look at and because this would have been the 1960s, right? You go back and look to
Yeah.
see what the Fleischers did in the 1940s.
Yeah,
So you can't tell me that they could do that. They could do,
Bugs Bunny.
Gulliver's, Bugs Bunny, Gulliver's Travels, all of these other animation things, and then they come to the Marvel things. No way, sorry. Those get my vote for the worst comic to to animation adaptation ever.
I mean, Warner's Brothers were killing it in animation. Couldn't somebody get even close?
Well, so was
No.
Disney too. Disney was killing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like those, and it's because you look at those the Fleischer Supermans. Those things still. That's the one thing great about animation is that sometimes if they're really done really well, like those old Supermans, they don't age. They still look just as impressive today as they did. Like special effects age in movies, but animation doesn't as much.
Have you seen someone has taken those and run them through some kind of program to make them 4K?
I need to
my
watch that.
gosh, they look so good. If you thought they looked good before,
Oh yeah,
they look so much better. And of course, I'm one who's
He's got them somewhere.
literally right here. My wife has tried to throw
yeah.
these away, and I keep
No.
grabbing them out of her hands and sticking them over here because it's like, no, you're not throwing these away. She's like, yeah,
Yeah.
but you have like 6 of them. I'm like, yes, I know, but if one breaks,
yeah.
DJ, send one to me.
Cassisi says, I don't remember that, but it was a great series. I think he's the great series. He's still talking about the old Conan animated
Yeah.
series.
It was Conan, and he had like a band of warrior friends.
Band of Merry Brothers.
Yeah, and I love that series.
Really?
I vaguely remember that, and
I don't remember at all. He says,
Yeah,
I
I
think it was in the 90s. It was probably only
Yeah.
a single season.
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all.
90s have been about right. Yeah, I remember that
I
vaguely.
didn't
Yeah.
have any time in the 90s to watch cartoons.
That's all I did.
This
watched-
is
Good
raising
times.
kids and inking.
I watched the Batman animated series, obviously,
yeah.
because that was the big thing back then. And I watched Ultra Force.
That's right.
Ultra
Those
Force.
are pretty cool.
Those aren't too bad.
considering what they had to work with,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I have one that I think was a bad translation to cartoon. That was even story and wise. Do you guys remember they actually tried to make a Wildcats cartoon?
Oh yeah.
Vaguely,
Yeah.
I vaguely remember that. Yeah, that was
Did
rough.
not,
Huh?
because that the comic was like, oh, the comic's kind of cool. It was like aliens and spies and ninjas.
Yeah,
And then
it
they
was
made
a
the
Saturday
cartoon and
morning
we're like,
cartoon.
yeah, it was like not good. It was like they turned like the Hellspawn, the evil guy, into like this Skeletor type guy. I don't know. It just that was one. I guess maybe if I didn't have any reference to the comic, I might be into it. But I remember seeing it, it was like, no.
You know, they made a
Savage
Gen
Dragonman.
they made a Gen 13 animated show too.
Yeah.
Oh really? Was it pretty good?
Yeah,
Did
none
they
of these
release it?
lasted long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the ones that I don't think would translate good at all for a children's cartoon.
Yeah.
CC said Wildcats cartoon. Boo.
Okay, so he knows it. He remembers it. Yeah.
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 Uh,
I remember that. Not to be confused with the Thundercats, which was, still,
amazing.
good.
Oh no, the updated Thundercats that they did with
Yeah.
different animation, that was horrible.
Mm.
Oh,
Watch that, yeah, couldn't
are you
do-
talking about the Thundercats Ho, the newest one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
did you just call the Thundercats hose?
That's what it's called, Thundercats Ho, I think, or whatever. So I
Really?
think
like
It was
like heave ho?
absolutely-
well, no, that's what he says when he does
That's
his
what he
swords,
says, isn't it?
Oh,
thunder,
okay.
But yeah.
No, I could probably quote you every Thundercat and Ninja Turtle cartoon because
Yeah.
my kids watched them so much. It's just over and over and over and over.
I
think
remember
still-
I remember as a kid, I was disappointed with Ninja Turtles, and I'm not saying it was bad. I mean, it was what it was. I just, I came from the comics, and I was so excited. I'm like, oh, they're gonna do this really cool, gritty. I mean, that's not what it was, but it is. I like the comics, so but there were a few they made a newer one for Nickelodeon. I think it was the last few years. That one, it was CGI animated, but that was really well done. What I saw of it.
my kids would dress up in all their Ninja Turtle costumes
Yeah.
to sit down and watch the cartoons.
Yeah.
And then they'd run around with their little plastic swords and hit us afterwards.
That's awesome.
That's
still
what
think
I
it's-
did.
I still think it's funny at conventions. I sell a print of the Ninja Turtles in the original one, and so many kids and parents. Oh, you must really like Raphael, because they all had the red mask, and then I have to be like,
It's
no. But then you get some fans who are like, oh, the original, so that's why I do it. So
I actually had a-
Oven says Thundercats roar.
Roar, that's what it was called. It
yeah.
was Thundercats Roar.
He,
My
he,
bad.
he goes, that's the new one. He goes, and I refuse to see it.
I actually baked a Thundercats cake for my son's 4th birthday. So
Nice.
Did you?
Nice.
I did.
What
I
did
had-
you have on it?
I had the Thundercat logo, you know.
Oh, the logo. Oh, yeah.
I'm starting to wish I
Great
had
logo.
Barb for a freaking mother.
But yeah, every single convention I ever went to, I had to bring crap home, and my son got on a Godzilla kick, and I brought every single thing home from the conventions I could find, including a 6 foot tall inflatable Godzilla. I mean, I was an awesome mom.
That's cool.
All right, this
So
has
cool.
got to be one for Pete here. Because Cece says my favorite cartoon was the Galaxy Rangers. Apparently, it was a comic in the UK, but he said he never read it.
I wouldn't have
was
read a
cool.
comic, no, but Galaxy Rangers, that rings a bell.
I've seen it.
remember
It's
it.
very old.
Oh,
I think
really?
I'll have
Like
to
how-
Google it.
how-
Hang on.
So,
I'm
so
gonna
you,
Google
so Pete, you never read the comic then, huh?
Yeah.
No, I was only ever an American comic.
Oh,
was-
really? Wait,
there
was-
wait. That's an interesting thing. Wait, this is a new information about you, Pete. Why were you only purely an American comic reader?
Because when I first started reading comics from our local corner shop, we would get reprints of Spider-Man and X-Men. And of course, the cartoons I watched were Spider-Man and the X-Men in the 90s. Those were the best things in the world. They had the Hulk and Iron Man was out. And I think there was a Fantastic Four early 90s. So that's what I grew up on. So when they saw Spider-Man, X-Men comics in my local shop, I was like, oh, cool. I'll get these. They're only like £1. It's like just $1. And so I was buying those religiously. And then it wasn't until my dad found a local comic shop that had all the American stuff. This was about 96, 98. That's when so all I ever knew was American comics.
Wow.
The X-Men, Marvel cartoons and stuff. I knew Batman, obviously, and Superman.
Sure.
But yeah, it was the Marvel cartoons from the...
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. It came, which is quite good for today's video. It's the cartoons that
Yeah.
I started watching. Yeah. But no, I wouldn't have known. I don't think I probably wouldn't even known Judge Dredd at that point.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Too late.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, yeah. Because Cece said you probably have to YouTube it. It was pretty good for its time.
It was. There was an old cartoon called Brave Star. It was a
remember
little
that.
bit like that. It was supposed to be like, I remember I kind of like go into a lot of retro cartoons. I like, because I used to watch Saturday morning cartoons. So I was always like, so what are the ones that I missed? Because God, I couldn't, catch all of them. And I think I can't remember if they ever aired it over here, but there was a toy line that's like actually like really rare and popular that people collect of them. But the cartoon was actually a little more sophisticated for kids. And it was like all these people, like they were like almost like cowboys or like sort of like Texas Rangers, but they're in like cybernetic suits, like space suits or whatever, and they went out and fought crime or something. But yeah,
The Brave Star
I
was like
do
an
know of it.
intergalactic sheriff.
Yeah.
I found the Adventures of the Galaxy Rangers.
That could be. I think that's probably the same thing.
Yeah, it says it's an American space
Oh,
western.
is it?
And it says it's 1986, which is a little early for me. And it says first episode was the 14th of September 1986. Can you guess
Wow.
when the final episode was?
It's probably like that same year. I
Oh,
know it didn't
yes.
last.
It was December 1986. Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't
Short
last
run.
very long.
Man.
That would have passed me by. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Cece
And
said that's
suddenly
it.
I feel
That's
old.
it.
Suddenly you feel old.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's weird is because I didn't watch a whole lot of TV cartoons from about the time roughly college-ish. I would watch them in college. But then after I got married, I was I was focused on trying to make comics, and I just didn't watch cartoons then again until my kids came along. And not until they started watching cartoons, and then my daughter was interested in things like Rugrats,
Yeah.
and so I watched a lot of those, Arnold and things like that that weren't based off comics. She, I would try to get her. I had the X-Men videotapes. So it's not that I didn't watch anything. It's just that I didn't watch much. So a lot of people start talking about these cartoons, and I'm like, I don't remember that. I kind of checked out on Saturday morning cartoons when the Smurfs came along, because I was kind of like, yeah, no, I'm not watching that. And then I'm when they stopped doing Johnny Quest and the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner Hour, and
I was raised on Warner
technically,
Brothers.
They never stopped doing Johnny Quest.
Yeah,
What's
I was
that?
raised on Warner Brothers and Johnny Quest. That was it for me.
Johnny Haji, because Cece says I'm a bit old. It says it's a short-lived comic with Marvel UK. 9 issues from June and September 1988 with Marvel UK, but again, he never read those. So and then he's laughing.
Yeah,
at the
I
Smurfs.
didn't get them either. That was really annoying. I didn't find out Marvel UK existed, and then when I did find out they didn't exist anymore, I was like, oh well,
Yeah.
no way breaking in through that route.
Yeah. 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 All right. So what else? Bad ones, worst ones.
Trying to think.
Everybody have the chance to go.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think we're just so
can't think of
happy
any
to see
bad
it
ones.
animated.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't think of
I
too many
think-
really bad ones.
yeah.
I'm so happy.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because as terrible as those Marvel cartoons was that Barb mentioned, and that I say gets my vote for the worst ones, I watched them all the time
Oh yeah.
because
Well,
that's
and-
all we had,
When they were the most faithful, if you want to say adaptations, they were the most faithful because they literally were just the flat images of like Kirby artwork with just the mouth flapping. So if you
Yeah.
want to talk faithful adaptation, that's about as close as
Yeah. All right, well, y'all want to shift over and start talking about the best?
Yeah, because the
All
worst
right.
man, I was thinking.
good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll go first on that one.
Well, I noticed last time too, we didn't tend to dwell on the worst. We prefer, as a group, we wanted to like get that out of the way and get to the best. So
Well,
Yeah.
there was
I-
also
I'm
no.
gonna go ahead.
There was no Howard the Duck cartoon, because that's what Barbara probably would have started off on.
No, but I am going to start off with an unusual one. The very
right.
first major motion picture that I saw that was animated. I mean, besides Disney,
Yeah,
but a cartoon based one, and I've seen a lot of them afterwards, but I'd never seen any before this one, and it was Akira.
oh yeah,
Oh,
It's
gorgeous.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I saw it back in
Heard about it.
1988, 89. I was out in San Diego at San Diego Comic-Con, and they were running it at the Horton Grand Theater, I think. And I went and saw it there. I was blown away. It
Yeah.
was so good.
it kind of ruined you for all animation. To this day,
I-
I'm still trying to find something that beats Akira, and I'm like, there's some stuff that comes close, but that was just a beast
Yeah.
of a project. It's still to this day.
It's the one that everybody,
Yeah,
the gold standard. Yeah.
you're right. And no computer assistance in that, all done by hand. That's
yeah.
And
It's
they adapted it before the comic book was even done. I mean, the comic
Yeah.
book, and the author himself adapted it, and he did this great way of kind of like truncating the idea and making the movie. And then he finished up the comic book series, and the comic book series had its own kind of lane and was great.
It did.
Going on.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny, when
I-
I read the comic, I discovered a lot more, like about the ending and some of the other stuff. I'm like, oh, that's what that was. Okay, that makes more sense. But it's still a powerful movie on its own.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's so powerful that 30 years later, over 30 years later, it's still crystal clear in my head that the scenes from it. That's a good movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
But-
one of those. His bike is so famous.
yeah.
The-
But had you read the comic before you had seen the animation?
No, I had to go out and get it
No.
afterwards. So
and if I'm
'Cause
not
I-
mistaken, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I had just discovered anime. I mean, basically, that was like my first or second year at San Diego Comic-Con. That was
Yeah.
my first introduction to manga. And
Yeah.
so it was like a whole new world. And then, so I had to go back to the convention, and I bought a whole bunch of VHS tapes, Nazca, the Valley of the Winds, or whatever it was, and a bunch of other ones. I brought them home and and vegged out on them.
Yeah.
It was a short period. I had a love affair with anime, but I got away from it then.
I like old school. I used to like a lot of old school anime, 80s, 90s, and nothing against the new stuff. I just there was so much that came over. I mean, that's when when Akira came out, I mean, it was like they chose the cream of the crop that came over. So you saw like just amazing stuff, and you see some amazing stuff now, but there's a lot to kind of go through to find that stuff that you like. But back then it was like, I remember when I bought Akira, it was like, the one VHS sitting in this glass shelf in the comic store. It was like, I think that, and I think maybe Ninja Scroll was the other movie. Like those are the two movies at the time you can get. And it was $30 for the VHS. Yeah.
Yeah, Kasisi said Akira was great, is great, and he says Fist of the North Star.
Oh yeah,
love
yeah.
that. So
I remember
violent.
seeing that one. Yeah, freaked
that
me
was-
out. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah, that
Well,
was
you know-
good, but it's to me it's still not as good as Freak.
I had
Ninja
friends in
Scrolls.
Japan, and they were telling me, like, if those of you that aren't familiar with it, right? It's this martial artist who's basically Mad Max, and he
Mhm.
hits
Yes.
people with pressure points, and then their
Yeah.
organs rupture from their
They just
body.
exploded.
Explode.
Yeah.
And just to kind of give you an idea of the social dynamic in Japan, so that movie came out, that series, comic book series, and anime came out in the early 80s in Japan. My friend told me in Japan, in primary school, there was a program to help you type faster, and it was a Fist of the North Star typing program for little kids. And if you type the words fast enough, you hit the pressure points, and the guy's head explodes, like his brain just
Oh,
goes out the
Jesus!
side of his head. For like 5 and 6 year old kids, so they could learn how to
What the
type.
heck?
Everybody
and I
else
gotta
always
say-
has the cool stuff. We don't have any of the cool
Yeah.
stuff over here.
And I'm just saying, they cracked the code. If you want kids to become computer literate, exploding
Yeah.
brain parts, with pressure points, the Japanese are on the cutting edge. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's awesome. They'd have a cow here if they did
Oh my
that.
gosh, yeah.
Oh my god, that's funny.
Was it consensual? Was it, like, no.
Now, every time the kids start typing words, some start breaking into tears. I remember the trauma of seeing that. Yeah. Yeah.
Who else is sharing art tonight?
Yeah, I can do.
Okay. Go ahead and share.
How about you,
I will
Curtis?
say,
I'd say, I mean, everybody's got to acknowledge, like, Warner Brothers is just
Yeah.
killing it in the animation, and there's a connection back to Malibu. I don't know if you guys know, but so there was several of the artists from Malibu, after Malibu folded, went into animation at Sony Animation, working on this animation called Project Eaker way back in the day. And then from there, they went on to the Men in Black animated show. And then eventually a lot of them found their way at Warner Brothers. And so these guys that were the storyboard artists and designers were guys like, with my friend Tim DeVar, he became a director over there. Sam Liu, who did one of the covers for Solitaire.
Mhm.
I think Vinton Hoek, who worked on one of the Mortal Kombat titles, a lot of these guys went over and they became like this very specialized group of people who could storyboard action very well. And to this day, a lot of them are directing stuff, but the bulk of them went to Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers, I think, just excels at adaptations. And probably my favorite is The Dark Knight Returns, the two-parter
Yeah.
by Jay Oliva. They did a great job on that, of adapting things. And the newest thing that all these guys are working on is two of those guys, Jay Oliva and I think Dave Hartman, they went on and they just formed a new animation company that's doing phenomenal work. I know people, so I kind of know what's going on behind the scenes. A lot of stuff isn't released yet, but they are, it's a company called Lex and Otis, based on Lex Luthor and his sidekick Otis, So
Oh, okay.
so the company's called Lex and Otis, and they have a lot of cool projects that you'll be seeing very soon coming out. But yeah, I say that whole Warner crew is just great stuff, good stuff.
the
That's kind of
Killing
my
Joke was definitely like, wow.
Didn't they
Yeah.
also work on the Curtis? Because I remember seeing the Men in Black, and I thought that was amazing. Did those guys also work on the Jackie Chan cartoon? Because I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
that
in
was really well done too. I really liked that one.
well,
Jackie
I
Chan
was
had
at-
a cartoon?
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really it's worth checking out. It's funny.
I was in their
Have to.
offices when they were first working on it, and they had all this concept art. And my friend Tim was working there, and he told me that Jackie Chan came into the office, and he was so nonchalant and so quiet. Nobody realized it was Jackie Chan. They just kept drawing, and there's this guy walking around with his manager looking at stuff, and he walked out, and apparently it turns out that was Jackie Chan. They didn't even look up from their desk, but he was walking
Look at-
through,
oh.
reviewing everything. Isn't that funny?
I
Missed
love Jackie Chan.
opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. But that was a cool series, and they did a great job of simplifying things. If you look at the background design in that series, like they did a really good job on things. The action was good too.
Yeah, the action. That's what I remember. Because I was always like, well, if you're gonna do Jackie Chan, I mean, you got to have the action scenes have got to be pretty top notch, just to match his movies. And I thought he did a really good job. I love the uncle character. He was like my
Oh
favorite.
yeah.
Some of the lines he had in there I thought were really funny.
I gotta find this now because I love Jackie Chan.
Oh, it's great. Ran for like what, 2 seasons?
Yeah,
I
that was
think?
really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't his voice though, was it? He didn't voice
No, I don't-
himself. He had someone else.
No.
Yeah.
But they would do like a little PSA at the end where they actually had
Mhm.
Jackie Chan, talking for a minute, like the end of the He-Man cartoons. So that was kind of neat,
Yeah, it was like ask Jackie something. They would ask him random questions about his life or what he liked, and then he would talk about his stuff. Yeah.
Bonesies broken.
They Curtis, you'll never guess who introduced me to Jackie Chan.
Who?
Let's just put it this way. I'll give you a hint. It was during the Malibu era.
Is it James Hudnall? Or no?
James Hudnall. Wow, right the first time.
Of course. He was a huge fan. He would come into the office and
Yes.
he would meet Tim DeVar, and they would like trade cassettes and laser discs and all sorts of stuff. He was a huge fan.
He cornered me. He cornered me one time. He had one of these little handheld VHS things, right? And it was a little compact. It looked kind of like an 8-track player, but it had pictures, right? So he was like, "Hey, you got to see this. You got to see this. Come here." And so I, had, and literally he played it on the screen about like this big, right? And I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, "Holy crap, that's really cool!" And so, literally, like the very next week or the week after that, I looked up Jackie Chan at a Blockbuster and started watching Jackie Chan movies.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
I think the first one I saw was Drunken Fist Fighting.
Oh, yeah. That
Yeah.
stuff's great.
Yeah.
Great stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I forgot to seeing Pete draw. I forgot to mention. No, that's okay. John, what were you inking on when we were watching you a while ago?
Oh, Fry Rush #2.
Fry Rush issue 2, and it's weird because I can still see you on my Zoom, but you're not showing up on the bar over there, and I'm not sure why that's the case. That's really weird. Anyway,
You hit the button, the arrow, scroll through it, you probably can.
oh, I see. Who do I knock off? I knock off Aaron. Oh, that's okay. It's just Aaron.
Yeah.
No,
That's all right.
I'm just kidding. I think I can rearrange them. Oh, maybe I can't. I might be able to rearrange them on here.
It's
I know you
just
can-
his pencils.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, it's just his pencils. Okay. So Fire Rush #2. Of course, those of you who are paying attention, Fire Rush #1 kickstarted 2 months ago with Bloodline. All those books have been shipped out. I'm waiting on Kablam to put those books up on Indie Planet. Those have been submitted. So any day now, if you missed the Kickstarter, you can't get the Kickstarter covers. Sorry. But you can, as soon as they're available on Indie Planet, we will let you know and point you in that direction. And Pete, what about you? What are you drawing on here?
I'm drawing Champion and Miss Fury page. Hang on, let me look at the top of the. What page am I doing?
That's a
Hey.
heck of a couple of buildings there.
Yeah, the stupid thing
background.
is, I've done the buildings and I'm going to raise them out because I'm going to put the characters in front of them, and I'm like, well, at least I got the backgrounds in,
Wow.
and
Great.
because I started plotting in the where are they? I think
Oh,
I've got-
yeah.
Start plotting in the
Seeing
characters.
all
So
those
the
buildings like that make my
buildings
hand
are going to
hurt.
vanish.
Those look fantastic, though.
I
Those
just
are the
I got on a background kick. I thought I'm going to go do the backgrounds because doing the buildings. at
Those
once.
are the kinds of things that you ink when you just have one of those days where you just feel mindless.
Yeah.
You don't have to put a lot of
Yeah.
thought into it. You just put some music on and just grab your ruler and just go to work.
Yeah. Those are awesome.
What?
And this is from. Did you say what? They're awesome.
No, I said what because she's like, it's just mindless. I'm like,
Oh,
I remember doing an inking audition for Marvel, and I had a Chris Spruce page, from a Fantastic Four variant cover, and it was covered in buildings, and I couldn't be mindless on it.
yes, John. But Barb has been doing this for 30 years. When you've been doing it for 30 years, the buildings will be mindless.
Yes, I need to get there. Crap.
Don't rush your age, sir.
It's rushing itself.
So, Pete, what page is this?
This is page 15.
Page 15.
This
Sweet.
is where Champ meets the engineer.
Nice.
And I've just got to put in all the sci-fi techie guns and weapons at the bottom, which
what he's pointing to there.
yeah. Yeah. So I've got to go and build some guns and things.
Hey,
Oh, do you know what?
we could put a fire engine there.
Yeah, fire engines. I can draw those in my sleep now. I'm gonna see if I can. I got to draw him with all these his how do we put it? His 90s gear.
Yeah.
So where's the rough? I'm trying to. What page was that? Was that 16?
Peter hears a fire engine in the distance, starts breaking into a cold sweat.
So I got to.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Oh, boy, that's a 90s flashback.
Right.
Oh, that's great.
There's a
Kind of
90s
blast.
flashback for you.
I just
great.
Googled.
Rob just turned over and
Google
in
Rod
bed.
Liefeld. Is that what you said?
But Cable and Rob Liefeld and all.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I love it.
Yes. And at the bottom, that's him trying to
walk
I
out with all
have
that
to-
stuff
trying
on.
to walk out. Yeah.
There has to be a special 90s edition cover in chromium with that costume on it. That's all I'm saying. You have to have a special 90s edition cover as a stretch goal,
Hey,
please, for me.
Tommy has shown me some cool paper that has just been made available to Kablam, and it's really, really cool. So we're going to be talking about some of those things.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a sweet
With
Miss
that
Fury
costume.
there. Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, so this is
Nice.
the page I was talking about earlier today. So you get to do just jumping across rooftops.
Nice.
I love that middle
That is
panel. That
sweet.
middle panel's great.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
favorite one. So just perched on the corner.
Nice.
Nice.
Very cool. I love the cape. I love how you just stretched out the cape on that second panel. You just made it practically.
Oh
vertical.
yeah.
Great way to show
Very,
that she's landing.
Way
Beautiful.
back, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks nice. Okay. Greg Harms says that's great. And Kasisi says, which I'm sure Greg was talking about Pete's probably the 90s stuff there. I can't tell if it was the 90s stuff or it was the buildings. I'm gonna go with the 90s.
No, it's
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
gonna eat
people love that
pencils
stuff.
overall.
Yeah. Kasisi says, love Jackie Chan Kung Fu movies. And then he says, Fearless Hyena, Snake and Crane, Arts of Shaolin, love them. And he also says that's great to the art. So,
Oh, well, thank you.
so all right. So, yeah, just I forgot to ask John when he was inking. So I want to make sure folks know what it is we're working on so that they can, realize they're watching something in anticipation that we'll be bringing to them at a Kickstarter near them soon. All right. So back to good animation.
The 90s X-Men cartoon was
That was I love that cartoon. I watched the whole lot again a couple of months ago. While I was in quarantine, I thought, right, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
the X-Men.
Best opening soundtrack to any cartoon ever, and loved it. Wolverine was, I fell in love with Wolverine off that series.
I think my favorite scene is after, of course, Morph dies and they leave Morph, and Wolverine just comes up and punches Scott in the gut. Just nails him.
Loved it.
I've seen most of that cartoon. I think I've seen all of it. I'm like always bad at catching things. I catch them out of order. So I think that's something I'd like to do is actually watch them in order, because there was a continuity between that series, relatively that you can follow through the entire series. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I think it was fairly faithful to the comics.
Yeah. I remember
I
being.
read the comics afterwards, and I'm like, they stuck to it.
No,
They made-
go ahead.
Oh, they made an adaptation called Wolverine and the X-Men later on. That I thought was pretty decent. They ended the series after like 1 or 2 years, but it was pretty good for another X-Men cartoon. That was probably the other one I really liked. And then the X-Men Evolution has some decent stuff in it, but the Wolverine and the X-Men I thought was
they changed things up there, didn't they? The Evolution, sort of modernized it a little bit. I still enjoyed it, but
Still don't beat the original.
yeah.
See, I like the Avengers Assemble TV series.
So,
yeah.
Barb, you know who worked on that, don't you?
No.
Rick Hoberg.
Did he really?
He sure did.
Ah, I'm going to have
Yep.
to tweak him about that.
Yes, he did. I remember when he told me, my first thought was, what? No way. And if I'm not mistaken, Curtis, didn't Tim Eldred do some of that too?
I think so. Yeah, I think Tim Eldred of Malbars moved over. He's done a lot of the Marvel animation stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Oh,
But Rick
that's one-
Hoberg, I mean, talk about prolific in animation, right? I
Yep.
mean, he's all over the place. Great stuff.
Yeah, he did a character of Zach for me for my Divinity Kickstarter. It did not sell, so it will be available on the next
Really?
Kickstarter.
That's right.
I
Yep.
know.
And it was one of the prints.
Yeah.
Good looking stuff. Yeah. Yeah. And of course, for those of you who are like, that name sounds familiar, but I can't really place it. Rick was the penciler for Strangers for the Ultraverse.
And I inked him on that too.
Yep. So, all right. So I'm going to jump in here. All right. So I think and you guys may yell at me because it's really old, but I think the best comic to animation adaptation ever are the Fleischer Studios Supermans. I think they're fantastic. I think they look good. I think the stories are they're they're in the 40s obviously, but I just think I can watch those repeatedly over and over and over again. I just think those are fantastic, and they're 1940s. So when I look at cartoons today, I kind of hold them to that standard. It's like, okay, if the Fleischers could do this in the 1940s, I'm expecting more out of you, right? And if they're not going to give it to me, then I'm like, you let a couple of dudes in the 1940s do better than you,
Yeah, you could definitely see the influence of that on the Bruce Timm Batman stuff easily.
Totally. I mean, you can kind of give them credit for that. It's like from the Fleischer to all the Bruce Timm stuff. I mean, talk about and by proxy the whole Warner Brothers catalog. At least that's the leg of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good argument right there. Definitely. Yeah.
All right, so we're done. See y'all later. Good night.
Strangely enough, they did. I don't know. This was an adaptation. Have you guys ever heard of a movie called Fire and Ice?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Actually.
That was translating Frank Frazetta stuff into it. I actually bought it. I still love that show. I was really into He-Man as a kid. And so when we go to the video store, I look for He-Man stuff. I remember getting Fire and Ice and just being like, well, this is He-Man on crack. I mean, what is it? Like this is amazing. And I remember we turned into the video store and always, as a kid, I remembered this cartoon, and then they re-released Fire and Ice a while ago. I'm like, that's it. That was a cartoon I saw as a kid. And it was still just as good. I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead, Curtis.
Do you folks remember? This is kind of another one out of left field, but the Heavy Metal movie.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
I just bought that.
Yeah. That was. It was like when you go to the conventions back in the day. It was Akira and Heavy Metal and maybe like some weird TV pilots that never got released, but you could always find those in the video cassette. But the Heavy Metal one was first time. It was pretty cool, and even to this day, it's pretty intense.
I watched that. We watched that repeatedly in the dorms when I was in college.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it just
cool.
to see Bernie's Captain Stern.
Yeah.
Captain Stern was in. He was awesome in it.
Yeah.
And the music was cool too. I mean, you had like
Black
Blue
Sabbath and the
Oyster
Mob
Cult.
Rules.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I just bought that movie because, again, I used to love that movie, and I was talking to somebody. I'm like, well, I should just buy this. It's like $7. I mean, so I mean, it's super cheap. I had no idea like Ivan Reitman was the guy who produced that. I'm like, the guy behind Ghostbusters and stuff, really? And so I had no idea that he was involved. I thought it was a completely European-made movie. I had no idea it was an American-produced movie. with animation. I didn't I was like, oh, I didn't know that at all. But it was pretty funny in the documentary. They were talking to a lot of the guys who worked on it, and they all like, look, we'll admit that it's a male power fantasy trip. Okay, I mean, all the girls have big, big,
Yeah.
but it was like they just kind of go like, look, okay, we're gonna admit that we're not gonna shy away from the fact that it's blood and guts and lots of boobs. I mean, this is what it is. And I was like, well, okay, at least I'm not trying to hide it. It's just coming out like, okay, yeah. So that's what it is. That's fun.
The talking about Fire and Ice. A lot of that movie was rotoscoped.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Ralph Bakshi was a big fan of that.
Yes, Ralph Bakshi did it on the Lord of the Rings
Yep.
cartoon. He rotoscoped that hell of a lot of it.
Well, one of my teachers in college worked on the Lord of the Rings movie, and she signed up for it. And she was so excited working on something related to Tolkien. And then she said when she found out that they were just having them rotoscope everything, at the end of the project, they went ahead and they gave everybody a piece of paper to write their name down so that they could put in the credits. And a whole bunch of the artists were like, "Nah, we're good."
Really?
Really?
Yeah, they were so upset because they loved Tolkien's work, and they were like, "Yeah, this rotoscoping thing is not matching up to what our expectation of what."
Oh, that's funny.
It was really, really obvious.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Fire and Ice is that way too. It's it's funny. I remember I never really got too much in the animation as a student. Animation is not for me, but I would talk to the animation students. A rotoscope, like you were saying, Curtis, was like the evil word. I mean, rotoscope, like no, we don't rotoscope anything. And now we're 3D animation, everything is motion capture. So they changed the word. So instead of rotoscoping, it's motion capture, but it's the same thing. I'm like, oh, so now it's cool. It was bad before, but now it saves money, so now it's good. And I'm just like, okay, all right, whatever,
Well, I think in the animation industry, there's this whole thing like one time I almost took a job doing like video game dealing with motion capture and not being an animator, but learning how to edit the segments out and speed it up and
right.
There's an art form to it. I think rotoscope is fine when there's the artistry and people can edit it and exaggerate things. When it's just that flat movement, like Barbara's mentioning, when it's so obvious that they're just tracing it. That's when it's kind of shady, But Disney rotoscoped. I mean, they practically
they did that stuff.
So
on the Ralph Bakshi one, the Lord of the Rings, it just looked like they took a bunch of old Errol Flynn movies and rotoscoped running horses and stuff,
Oh yeah, that was particularly bad. I mean, that was like, well, you're just not even trying to hide this, and but I was surprised. Apparently, I didn't know how much rotoscoping was done in Heavy Metal. Not a lot, but apparently. They did certain scenes at the end with Tanya, the warrior lady. I didn't know. I was like, oh, that's cool. And it's something I didn't know. I mean, I was finding all sorts of interesting things rewatching that movie.
So I remember the Lord of the Rings cartoon. I think that's my first real memory of Tolkien and Lord of the Rings.
Huh.
I loved that cartoon. It finished and I was like, well, when's the next one out?
What
happens next?
Yeah, they never.
But that's before you find out what rotoscoping is and stuff. I just thought the animation was amazing. I thought, wow, it's incredible. So fluid.
Yeah.
It looks real.
Yeah. This is brilliant. When's the next episode? What happens next?
Well, I don't know if you guys saw the Hobbit one, and then they did a Return of the King one. It was Rankin Bass, the people that did Thundercats. They did Return of the King one and a Hobbit one, and those are cool because they have a really neat visual aesthetic. They're full on animated. They're pretty cool. They're pretty cool. So those are worth a look,
Yeah, I'll try and dig those. I didn't know those existed. I'll try and find those.
Yeah, I remember Return of the King because I remember catching it on TV, and I still have this memory, seeing like the end of it or something. I'm like, that's really cool. And now that, because I know Ralph Bakshi didn't finish this, they kind of finished it in a weird way, I guess, through another means.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, because I remember seeing the original Hobbit, like that was kind of, that was cool. But again, like you had the Black Riders, are just like almost like photographs of people riding horses.
Mm-hmm.
And then you saw Return of the King, and it's like, well, this seemed to be a jump. Like I remember being like, this seems there was a certain stylization to it. I thought was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like you never want to know how the sausage is made. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like if you go back and watch those old He-Man cartoons, you can see the recycled animation. There's like 5 actions that he always does.
Yeah.
He rolls in one direction, he'll run 45 degrees, and then go the other way. And then there'll always be a move where he flips his sword. And man, do they ever use that? Every freaking episode.
They did that in the Star Trek cartoon. As I think
Oh,
the
yeah,
Star
yeah.
Trek cartoon. That,
Oh, yes.
I started rewatching those again recently. I was like, they're just doing it the other way now. It's the same thing. It's just going in the opposite direction.
Yeah, they used us up close-ups over and over and over again in the Star Trek one too.
Yeah.
That's the same close-up they had 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I always love the one like in the Star Trek one where there'll be like a boulder or something in the background that's going to move, and you can tell because everything is painted in
Different
gouache, and then
shade,
you'll see that one thing that's
Yeah.
the cell, and like, oh, that thing's going to move. That thing's going to move any minute.
That's moving. That's the one.
Yeah.
Did anybody go to see Into the Spider-Verse?
Oh,
Yeah, I thought that was
incredible.
really
That was so good.
And the way
Oh,
everything had its own different sort of animation style with different characters and stuff.
Oh,
And that was the first one
clever.
Marvel got right.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was not looking forward to it, and then my friend told me, "Says you got to see it," and I was like, "Wow, this is one of my favorite comic book movies ever, hands
Yeah,
down."
I've seen it a few
you know?
times. Yeah.
Oh, gorgeous.
Yeah, we saw it in the theater. It was good.
Yeah, I always like it now. They have the technology to do whatever that they're actually trying to push. Like, yeah, you don't need the. It's not even. I mean, you could do like this crazy, like the art style they did in that movie. I mean, you can start expanding animation now with technology and do very different design senses and styles. And that was the first movie when I remember seeing that movie. I'm like, I want more of this. I want more of like, you know, the reason this is animated is because you couldn't do this live action with the art style, whatever.
Mm.
And but a lot of times that was always some of my like modern CGI animation's okay, but it was always that uncanny valley, and they're reaching that uncanny valley where it's like, oh, it's a cute kitten and it's animated and looks kind of borderline real, but then kind of not, and it's kind of like, okay. But I like what they did with the Spider-Verse. Like, no, we're just gonna do all this like cool graffiti type stuff and this style in the movie that was just like, yeah, let's do more of that. I mean, really break out of the shell of trying to make everything look so quasi-realistic with 3D stuff.
Well, I love how things were like slightly out of register, like an old comic book where like the edges didn't always match, it'd be kind of jagged, you know. And the colors are just absolutely insane. In that, you know. I think some of you guys may have seen. I know they're going to do there's this cool gallery out in Pasadena out here in Southern California. They're going to do an online seminar with one of the color designers from Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, interesting.
It's like a 5-hour seminar online, but the guy's going to go over color theory and like break down the scenes and all that, you know. And I absolutely love that kind of, you know, deep cut kind of stuff. Really.
I thought the facial expressions were amazing.
Yeah. And the acting was good. The music was good. It was just the pacing was really good. But so who was everybody's favorite Spider-Man? If we're on that one in that movie, did you guys identify with one more than another?
Miles Morales was my favorite, the main guy.
No.
I never really read a lot of Miles Morales, but it just the design of that character, what I've seen of him, I really like the whole aesthetic behind that character.
Pete says no. I'm
Peter
Pete
Parker. I love
was-
Miles, don't get me wrong, but Peter Parker, I was like, yeah, poor guy.
Which Peter Parker?
The one with a little bit of a gut.
I feel like
Peter
that
Parker.
one most of the time. Like
Beaten down a bit.
Just give me a sample.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the part when he's crying in the shower. That's my favorite scene in the movie.
I identified with him. I thought Gwen Stacy and Spider-Ham were cute, but I identified with older people.
Yeah. My only gripe in the whole movie, because, and I know there's only so much time, they explained all the interrelations, but the fact that Peter Parker died in Gwen Stacy's universe and was her friend and was the reason for her driving force, and the fact that she sees Peter Parker again in this other version, that there's no emotion or anything, kind of bothered me. Otherwise, I think the story was amazing. But
And that's something they can expand on, and I think they're making a sequel to that.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I mean, I would
think
assume
they'll
so.
be mad
Well,
not
it did
to,
so
yeah.
well. I've heard rumors that they're going to.
I
So
don't see why they wouldn't, because it did
Yeah.
awesome.
it's this woman director, her name's Lauren Montgomery. I heard that she's the person tapped to direct the Spider-Gwen movie, which is the next one.
the next one, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That was that. Yeah, I really. That was probably for my most modern favorite superhero movie. Saw that in the theater and was really, really cool. And it kind of got me like, well, they started thinking like, oh man, wouldn't it be cool if I saw an X-Men animated movie and like a style like that? Not even graffiti, but like maybe a different art style or something. I mean, I was like you guys are kind of breaking new ground here. Now I'm starting to think of all these other characters you can do. Like, I mean, you could do like what?
Barb said Iron Man.
You could. I mean, well, you could do an entire movie
Look
in
what I'm
like a
reading
Jack.
today. I mean, come on.
You reading Iron Man?
I mean,
See that? I always thought like you can do someone like a Jack Kirby style. I mean, you can straight
Oh
up
my gosh,
like
that would be
like
so cool.
yeah, you could just straight up do that. I mean, now thinking I'm like, look, if you're going down this idea of like eschewing the realism and going into artistic, like you're just opening up a whole nother floodgate of all this, you know,
Silver
Jack
Surfer
Kirby type.
Galactus, Jack Kirby style. That would be
Oh,
amazing. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like with the, that would be my bag right there. That would
yeah.
be really
That would
sweet.
just
that would be
And-
your
yeah.
jam.
oh,
Oh
yeah.
yes, and then some, and then
Wu Tang. Oh.
Just
Alright.
so the viewers know that for some reason, whenever anybody says anything positive in our Silverline messages, I always throw up the Wu-Tang, and I don't even know why I do it. It's just something I do. So that's
yeah. Yeah. And for those of you who are listening and don't get any images, Curtis is throwing up gang signs.
this is my favorite one. This is my favorite sign. It's this one. I don't know if anybody knows this one.
Peace, love, and
It's just from the great MC Hammer. It's too legit to quit.
Goodness gracious.
Here I am thinking he was doing something that I saw kind of on don't do this on don't do that on television or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, cut it out. I'm like, that doesn't look like that. What the heck?
So what about anybody watch any of the Justice League, any of the DC
Oh.
animation?
Yeah.
I watched too many cartoons. That first Justice League series is incredible.
Yeah.
I can watch those
Yeah.
again and again.
Well,
Yeah, I actually got the. I was so happy when they released them because all the love goes to Batman. Like, here's a box set of the Justice League cartoon. I'm like, yay! They threw a little love to the Justice League because everything
Yeah.
goes to Batman with Bruce. too.
Yeah. Well, I remember, of course, Brett's 5 years younger than my daughter, and I already mentioned Rugrats and stuff to, when she was watching. Well, when he came along, I was trying to show him the same kinds of things, and he gravitated immediately towards those Justice League
Yeah.
movies. And they were really good. Of course, you kind of have to, you got to do your parental duties, and you got to watch them to make sure they're, child age appropriate. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I had to watch them. And
Of course.
We
Yeah,
must
sure,
all make
Roland, sure.
sacrifices in the name of parenthood.
that's it. You sacrifice so much for your kids, and so those are really good. And that's why I know I brought the little Batman in here when we were talking about toys not too long ago, which is actually Brett's, and those came about because of all those cartoons, because the toys were done in the style that those cartoons were animated in.
I think that version of the Flash is my favorite Flash.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
they nailed him. They got him.
Yeah.
You got him right. Yeah, it was cool.
You know what the cool one was? Batman Beyond. That was one that I didn't.
Yeah.
On paper, does not sound like a good idea, but they
It
did
worked,
such a
yeah.
darn good job. They did such a great job with that series. That was fun.
Yeah, that
I like
was
the,
when.
Yeah, go on.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
I was-
that's all right. I was going to change topic, so it's fine.
There was I totally forgot what I was going to say. So
Oh.
you're-
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Cerebral flatulence.
I heard there was a really good series. I haven't seen it, but there was one about Red Hood.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah.
Outlaws.
Yeah.
I've not seen that.
Well, it's supposed to be really, really good.
Oh, hold on. Did you watch the Iron Man one?
I did
That-
not.
That was not any good.
I have not seen
I wanted to watch it. I forget what it was called now, but I know that I was, because I had reached, this is 10 years ago or something like that, and I had reached that point. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and start buying the Marvel and DC movies and support the animation and blah blah blah. And I bought that one and watched it. I'm like, this is a piece of crap, and just like, what the heck? Yeah, I didn't like it at all. And that's when I don't think that's when I kind of made the decision. All right, apparently Marvel doesn't know how to make, for the most part, animation, and I stuck with the DC animation. I mean, even though I'm a Marvel comic guy,
Yeah.
They just it was terrible.
I just haven't
Yeah.
had the time to watch everything I want to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Life, it's just
What was that?
I think it was just
deadlines
called,
to me.
I think it was just called Iron Man. I think that's, if I'm thinking right, it was a straight to DVD movie. I never saw it, but
I
I
think
remember
so.
seeing. I always remember seeing the cover in the store or
Yes.
something. And
And it was terrible.
yeah, I think the one thing I didn't even, I was watching the DC direct to home video animated stuff, like the new movies and stuff. And it took me a while to figure out, like, apparently there's supposed to be a shared universe with the movies. It never dawned on me, because I would buy all the Justice League animated movies because I like the Justice League. And then it was like, well, yeah, these Batman ones. And then I'm watching a movie. It's like, oh yeah, well, Batman did this and this, like, they talked about it. And I'm like, well, wait, wasn't that another movie? And apparently they're kind of subtly all connected.
Yeah, and
Like,
you know what? In
yeah, I
fact,
didn't
they
know
do
that.
that in the comic books too.
Yeah.
I'm catching up on all my comic book reading today because it's Sunday, my day off. And I'm missing stuff and then I go back and look, like, oh, well, if you want to see this segment, you have to go to this comic, and in another
Yeah.
comic, they have all these crossovers. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I do not want to buy 10 different comics just to get one storyline. I want to buy one comic book, one storyline. And if they do that in animated series too, it's like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah. Especially with, like, can I just, exactly. You have to go watch. It's funny. I was reading the George Perez's Wonder Woman and did really well, but he did the same thing towards the third volume of the omnibus. There was this huge War of the Gods, and it was a huge interconnected event. So as I'm reading the series, it's like, okay, so now things are just happening off screen, and I got the gist of what was going on, but it was kind of a bummer because I really enjoyed the series, and his run kind of went out in this huge interconnected. I'm like,
Yeah.
you guys couldn't bother in the omnibus to throw the other issues in so I can make sense, just, but yeah, so it's kind of frustrating. They do the same thing with the movies too, the animated movies.
I do like.
Go ahead.
I do like that they even got so far as to do some of the DC Elseworld stuff. Like they did Gotham
Yeah.
by Gaslight as an animated thing, and it's like, I can't believe I'm living in an age where Gotham by Gaslight is getting an animated adaptation.
How
So
was
cool.
that? Did you see that, Curtis?
Yeah, I saw it.
Was it worth it? I haven't seen it yet.
It's good. The one thing, it's kind of touchy because I have friends that worked on it, but the thing that I wish they could have done is I wish they would have gone full Mignola as far as the style. Because they didn't lean in that direction. If they had done that, I think it would have just taken it up. But it's still pretty good. It's still pretty good.
I still like to check it out. Sometimes they do that. I mean, I remember there was one they tried to mimic Jim Lee's style, and I'm like, I think that was Hush. I saw, and I was like, it and sometimes they try to mimic the style. You can kind of see a little bit, but since it's animation, they have to strip it down for obvious reasons. So you can kind of get a little bit, but not necessarily. But Mignola is so geared towards animation. I was kind of hoping they would lean more in towards his style.
Oh, I'd love to
One
see a
of the-
Hellboy, animated Hellboy. That'd be great.
Oh, they have them.
They have them.
Oh yeah, there are a few, aren't there?
Yeah, there's like
There's-
4 that
there's
I've
two.
found so
DVD.
far.
Cool.
Yeah.
How are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're good. Are they
They're-
good?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good. I mean, I don't know. I was like, Mignola's style seems so well suited for animation. They're not bad. I mean, they're worth checking out. I know that Mike Mignola hates him with a passion, though. He
he
said
does
that
it?
in
Does
interview.
he?
Yeah, he just does not like him at all.
Wow.
So
Now, I know we were just talking about being irritated with having crossovers, but waiting 14 years between movies, that's true dedication. You know which one I'm
Yeah.
talking about, right? The Incredibles. I love The
yeah.
Incredibles.
Yeah.
I love The Incredibles, but there was 14 years between number 1 and number 2. Holy cow.
Speaking of a bazillion, this I'm chasing rabbits a little bit here, but speaking of a bajillion tie-ins, y'all haven't read Jerry Conway's diatribe this last couple days?
yeah,
No,
I read it.
What's the
I
latest?
heard the gist of it.
Dish.
Basically he's saying that he could fix the industry.
Oh, this is what cancel all superheroes or something.
Yep.
Yes.
I think I saw something about this.
Yeah. It's like cancel every superhero being published and focus on graphic novels and target them at kids.
Yeah.
I think he has a lot of good ideas in what he's written. I don't think that personally, I don't think that that everything he said is doable or desirable. But I mean, the part that I agree with is that we don't need 13 Batman books.
True.
One Batman book, that's good enough. And get everybody to buy that book instead of spreading spreading Batman out. And I think the same way for all the other characters. One Spider-Man, that's all we need.
I agree with that.
Yep.
But
I always thought it was funny how-
making all of the comics for kids. I mean, who's got the money? The kids.
Yeah.
All this, yeah.
Well, so that's actually that's actually probably a good topic of conversation, because I would agree that they do have the kids. I mean, look at what's marketed today. Kids have they don't have their own money, but they have the buying power of their parents, and parents buy for kids.
Yeah, Barb.
Yeah, Barb, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's talking about how she bought all this stuff for her kids.
This is true.
Yep,
This is
yep.
true.
So
But I brought twice as much for myself.
yeah. And the truth of the matter is, all the young adult, when it comes to growth in entertainment industry, basically anything that's geared towards a younger audience generally sells better. Yes, of course, there are always exceptions, right? And one of the things you say when you mention that, like PG-13, someone says, "Oh, Deadpool did really great." Yes, it did. It is an exception. The majority of them do not. So I think that's one of the things that's hurt them, because the problem is the group of us on here, we don't need the information about what's in the comics because we know, okay? But most parents do not know. Most parents don't know what's in a comic book. As much as we would love to think everybody knows what's in Batman, well, no, they don't, and the idea of branding is huge with parents, because parents get comfortable with a brand that is okay for their kids, and they buy with brand. I'll give you, for instance, right or wrong, I'm not here to argue that. We wouldn't buy anything for my daughter made by the Bratz people, right? Because we just thought, well, this is pretty stupid, and I don't, it doesn't look like something. I don't want my kid to be a brat, and I don't like the stuff that's going on, right? So we wouldn't buy anything that was by the Bratz people. Barbie, on the other hand, that was a trusted brand for us as parents. And so if something had Barbie on it and it was something my daughter wanted, we wouldn't worry about it because Barbie was a trusted brand, right? And I think that's kind of become the problem with Marvel and DC, is that parents don't know what to get anymore. You buy X-Men and you're getting, in many cases, softcore, near pornography in some of the stuff. So it's not a trusted brand for parents.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the thing too is you're always, I think this is the big challenge you see across the whole entertainment spectrum, is you want to bring in the next generation of consumers without alienating the old guard,
right,
or the current guard.
Right.
And nowadays it seems like a lot of these entertainment companies are completely inept because they alienate all their loyal customers and they don't attract any new people.
Right.
So it's a complete wash. But it's kind of like, I think we talked off air one time, and it's like you have to be smart about it. And I can see the idea of trying to go for the kids in a kids medium, because it's kind of like, I think I mentioned once in Japan, they couldn't get, after World War II, the Japanese public to get coffee. All these coffee corporations couldn't get the Japanese to like it. And so somebody had the cool idea. They said, hey, let's create coffee flavored candy and sell it to the kids. Mm-hmm. And those kids will get adjusted to the taste of coffee. And it happened, sure, within one generation, all these people drink coffee. And in KFC, I don't know if you guys know, KFC over there is a holiday thing. Kentucky Fried Chicken is a Christmas holiday meal in Japan.
What? Really?
Yeah. So they had this thing where you get a bucket of KFC and a full meal, and it's a Christmas tradition from, I think they ostensibly say it's from America. And you have to reserve your bucket of chicken or you won't get it. And yeah, they line up for it. And it's part of the Christmas tradition is to get KFC.
Wow.
And it's crazy.
I've never heard that Christmas tradition.
Yeah, definitely. It's finger looking good. So, but they just haven't figured out that, how do you get the new people without getting rid of the old people? I don't know.
Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of times when people hear, targeted kids, they hear dumb it down. Well, that's the last thing you want to do, because, I remember talking to, and I hope he's not listening because he'll get mad. I remember talking to Hank about this one time, several years ago, and Hank from at DC, and talking about that. And he said, yeah, well, we've got our dollar line. And I'm like, yeah, but Hank, everybody knows that's your dollar line that's dumbed down for kids. Don't do that. And yeah, well, we're trying. And so I think what happens, again, it goes back, again, we know because we're invested in the industry, and the people who are readers, they know, but that's such a small, tiny portion of the greater world population, that understands that. And I think that they've lost the whole branding idea. Anyway, I didn't mean to go too far down that rabbit hole. It's just that when Barb mentioned all the tie-ins, that made me think of, that's one of the things that Jerry Conway said, was that he could fix comics, and how his plan to do that. And one of the things he said I agree with is that you shouldn't have all of these events, because those they market them as a jumping on place. But what we've discovered is it's really a jumping off place. Yeah, for so many.
I agree.
And they happen so often. So often it's not even special anymore. It's like, can I just figure out what the narrative is for this character? I don't want to know about the whole the whole universe. I want to know about this character. I want to be invested in this character.
Right.
If it's once a year event, maybe it would be okay, but they do it constantly. And
Oh gosh, yeah.
Nobody can afford that many books anymore.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's funny. I think one of the things competing the most, that, I mean, even watching my nephews, obviously video games and movies, but when I was younger, watching the cartoons and reading the comic books was like my gateway into realizing that sort of fantasy world they presented to me. Superheroes, like, well, I could read the superheroes, I could watch them on TV, or He-Man, I could play with the toys or whatever. And there was that sort of idea of like, well, I wanted to be part of the universe, to be in that universe, and I can like pretend with my toys or read the comics. But video games, especially in modern day, literally, I mean, you can put yourself literally in that universe, and that's so powerful. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, if you can go back in time and say, yeah, we got this video game, you could like literally live in, like, say, Superman's world, or Thundercats or whatever, and all the day be, I mean, you'd be gone. I mean, that would be it. I mean, comic books or whatever. And I think that's sometimes the hardest thing, going against a lot of older print, older media, is challenging that absolute immersion that certain electronic media gives. Because like I've talked to my, my nephews who play video games, and I'm like, you want to read comic books or whatever? Oh, we don't like comic books. We don't.
Well, what it is,
that's it. Yeah, there was no
totally.
crossover.
What it is, and easier said than done, right? But the solution is simple, but hard to do. You have to tell stories that aren't in those other mediums.
Exactly.
And they'll go to, because the media, I hate to say it, I love comic books, but the medium itself, if you look as a technicality, is inferior to those other mediums in terms of immediate immersion. But if you can create stories that nobody else can experience in any other medium, that's how you get them. But the problem is a lot of those video games have great stories and are telling the same stories than the comics. I think it can be done, I mean, but game on, it's game on for everybody right now.
I think the one thing that comic books have over video games is, even though games are immersive, I still think comic books can pace stories better. Because I mean, like a lot of times, and I get off in a video game tangent, but like, if you're in a world, it's like, you need to go save the princess, or you can go gather 50 flowers, or you can go fight the dragon, or you could do all this other stuff to wander around and do, and then come back to the story. So there's sometimes I haven't figured out how to like immerse gameplay with storyline. With comics, I think, again, like a book, do really good at straight narrative storyline. And again, that comes with good storytelling, like Curtis said. You got to capture that story. But I think that's the leverage I see in comics, and the most.
I envision a time where we can make a comic book and have a real multimedia experience. You know, you can go through and you can come to a page that your character picks up a folder and he says, "Oh, oh no, but not he doesn't hide the information. Oh no, I've just learned that this is happening here and I have to go do this." But you can go to the website and you can look on and you can see the contents of the folder, right? So you get to see what's all in there. A little extra things like that. I think would be neat to do.
Yeah.
Totally.
And it's funny. I mean, I'm an older, fan or whatever, but I still prefer reading comic books over watching television still.
Yeah.
I like TV or whatever, but comic books, I don't know, there's something about, like, I guess I make it take my own time or pace. And maybe it comes to being an artist too. I like the art. But a lot of TV shows, I just don't, some are good, but I just find there's a lot of unique stories and stuff in comics. And maybe it just comes with, like, there doesn't have to be so much oversight because comic books are not super expensive to make. So a lot of people could just go on and do their own thing, which can make really cool stuff, when, like, movies and TV still have some oversight because they cost a chunk of change to make.
Yeah.
So they kind of feel a little more streamlined to, like, being catered to specific tastes, when you can read, like, crazy random comics about crazy random things that are really fun.
Yeah.
No, so I think the thing that happened too is, and I heard somebody bring up before, but it's like, you have people that find about comic characters through other mediums, film, TV, animation, video games. So you have like this small window where when they go to a comic book store, when they pick up a comic book, they're going to go, what am I going to get? And for some people, sorry, Marvel, it's like, they're like, oh, I want to hear about Tony Stark. Well, no, Tony Stark's gone. Here, read about Riri Williams. Well, that's not why I came to the store. I came because I like Tony Stark, right?
Right.
So, and if not that, they pick up a comic book and, oh, it's Batman fighting the same character the same way that I saw in the movie. There's nothing new. Now,
Yeah.
the
Joker again?
Yeah.
If somebody went to the store and you're like, hey, let's just lay it out there. Everything you're seeing in the movies is based on the comic books. Now here's the new stuff that hasn't even been adapted into the movies yet. Look how cool that is. That's how I think they could drive people in. But I don't think anybody's really had that experience when they came into comic books in the last decade or so.
Let me ask you a question. So we could probably sit here and it wouldn't be too hard to kind of badmouth Marvel and DC storytelling over the last decade or so, right? Don't want to get into that, but as fun as that might be, but I want to kind of toss out a theory I've been working on as to why I think that is. And it's not because, they're hiring, bad writers and bad artists. There may be some of that, but, really what they're doing, they're hiring some, in some occasions, some of the quote unquote, top industry talent. My theory is this. My theory is because of independent comics, because of the growth of companies like Image, that are all creator owned, that no one's creating characters for Marvel and DC anymore because they don't own them.
Yeah.
So if you go to work on Spider-Man, right? You come up with an idea for a character and you think, oh wow, this is a great character. Well, what are you going to do? Well, you're not going to create it for Marvel because they're going to own it and they're going to earn all the money from it. So you're going to go and say, hey, I'll create this character out of, if that's what you're doing, I'll create this character, scrape him off the bottom of my shoe and use him, and I'll save this really cool character for my own creator-owned thing. So I think there's, again, this is just a theory I've been kind of toying with. I just don't think that, and I know that they have the creator incentives, which I think has helped, but still, I mean, these are mega corporations that make a lot of money off of these characters, not in comic books. And what I mean, they make money off the characters in other medium, not comics, right? And so I just think that there's a lot of creators that are going, yeah, sorry, I'm not going to give you my best ideas because I want to own them.
Yeah, I could see that very much, because
that makes me wonder what.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say it makes me wonder what incentives they're giving Donny Cates.
I don't know. Is he creating new characters for Marvel?
Yeah, he
Well,
created
Null.
Kroll
yeah.
and he
Kroll, Null, whatever. Yeah.
yeah Kroll and
Kroll is not a new character though. Kroll's an old character.
Yeah, you talking? Yeah, if you're talking like a barbarian Kroll.
No.
no. This
Oh.
is
Is it Null? Is it KNULL?
the king
Oh.
of the symbiotes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that character.
Me either.
I'm
Came out
guessing
in-
they get a percentage share
Mhm.
if over a certain amount of books, or if the character gets adapted to film and TV and stuff.
Yeah, there's a new character that's popping out in the Thor book too.
Well,
Yes, that's right. Yeah. That
They
issue's
would-
gone crazy.
Yeah, they would have to get the percentage share. Now, I
Yeah.
was under the assumption Marvel still did straight work for hire, but maybe they've changed certain things.
I think they
I mean,
do, but I think even back in the 90s, they started giving people. I know Rob Liefeld was getting a percentage for Deadpool and Cable
Okay.
back in whenever.
was that a
so-
Freudian slip?
No, I listened to his podcast, and he literally gives you every
no.
little bit, and
Did-
it's
do you-
very
do you-
interesting.
Do you? No. Yeah, I've listened to a couple of them. Did you hear what you called the character?
No,
I didn't know if that was intentional or just.
no, I didn't know.
Do you like the character Deadpool?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
because you
yeah.
said Deadpool.
Oh, did I? Deadpool. Just talking too quickly. Deadpool.
Okay. I thought
Zane
I
with
found it.
Troll.
I found it very funny, but I'm like,
Deadpool.
okay, did you mean to do that, or was that just a
Just talking too quick.
yeah.
Yeah, well, and, I think that's one of the things that that has to be retro, because I don't think that he was getting that prior to Image being founded.
No, I don't know.
I don't think so. I know that the Malibu participation contracts were based off of the DC participation contracts. So
really? I didn't know that.
Yep, DC already had the DC had already worked on something that had participate. If you create something and it goes on to be something, then you get a participation. Like I know that Chuck Dixon and Graham Nolan get a piece of Bane. Anytime Bane shows up, and Chuck has said, I'm fairly certain he said it very publicly, that he really doesn't get much off the comics because they just don't sell, and that's not what the agreement was really not about. Hey, if Roland goes to write a Bane story in comics, there's really not enough money generated to pay Chuck and
No.
Graham. But if you go and they make toys and they make cartoons and they make those kind of things, he says that's where he said the toys is where he's gotten a lot of participation money from. So yeah, I would
And then
assume that
mentioning-
Marvel followed suit.
I have to say that, and I only worked at Malibu, so I don't know, but I have to say there was a cool energy at Malibu with the whole creator or participation thing there, where those creators of those original Ultraverse characters were so invested and were so passionate about it's like the character was almost like their alter ego. You know? And I thought you could just, it was like transcendent. I mean, you could just feel it whenever they came in the office, whenever they did anything, they genuinely loved those characters. And I think that genuineness came through in the books. I don't know what it's like in other situations, but I thought that was so cool. That was so cool. And if more of that happened, I think that'd be good.
Well, and I think that's one of the reasons that they were so, because a lot of them were ex Marvel folks, and I think so. That's one of the reason that they were so excited about the participation contracts with Malibu, because that wasn't something they had gotten, in previous years. I mean, heck, Steve Gerber, all kind of lawsuits over Howard the Duck. So I think it was. I think late '80s, early '90s was when we saw changes with that. But I just, I don't know. I look at it and I see I see Image. You're right, the birth of Image, and when you take the 7 rock stars in the industry at the time, and they formed their own company, and now established names from Marvel and DC will go to Image or other companies, but Image is happens to be one that a lot of former Marvel DC guys go to, and they do their own creator-owned thing, and they do well. Why would they? So I think for me, I asked the question is like, okay, well, you writer, You've been working at Marvel for the last, 6 years. You've been doing really well. Why did you come to Image to do this? Why didn't you go to Marvel? Why didn't you go to DC to do that?
Here's a thought that's kind of contrarian. I mean, it's kind of, and I'm all about creator rights, but do you think that when the industry got bigger and licensing and adaptations and all these things happened, that kind of, in a way, made people more guarded about putting their best work out there, because it kind of distracted, well, I want to make sure I have points on this when it becomes licensed as this and when it becomes a movie. There was that time, 70s and back, where that wasn't even on the radar. It was like, my job is this, and I'm going to do the best job as this. I don't have any other thoughts in mind except making this the absolute best part, because there's no better contract out there.
Right.
Do you think that might be the case? I mean, I don't know, but I wonder.
Well, that's part of my theory. Like I said, I'm not working too hard to prove or disprove it, but that is part of the theory I have, because like I said, we could probably talk for hours about it, but it's the general consensus is that over the last decade, Marvel and DC, for whatever reasons, in general, have just not been that good. And so and again, I would argue that it's not because they're not hiring talented people. I would think that they are. And okay, in some cases we can argue that person never should have got that job. And I certainly think there are those cases, but I think a lot of it does have to do with, people just aren't. I mean, it's it's the ultimate. I'm working for the man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so why? Yeah. And so why am I gonna put in my very best when the corporation owns it?
I mean, I would say if I worked for them or something, I wouldn't give them my best ideas. I mean, for mine, so I could totally see that happening.
You would do a great job, right? You would do your very best job. But if you're writing Spider-Man and you come up, oh, there's this cool Spider-Man villain, I'll just use the tarantula.
Right. Because you can go off and make your own comic book. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think what you could argue then is, if you kind of sum it up, is lack of innovation would be, or lack of good innovation, because there's no commitment to adding anything new to the narrative.
Right.
You can do the best within this sandbox, but doing anything above and beyond that would be potentially detrimental to your career.
Right. Yeah.
Or to your income. Right.
And that wasn't a concern in the 60s and 70s. You just went and you wrote the best stories you possibly could. If you needed a new character, you just created it, and gave it away. And it was just the way it was. So you gave everything.
I mean, if you look on the backs of the checks that you get from Marvel and DC, it says right on the back when you're signing it, I relinquish all rights to everything in this book. I mean, and if you want to get paid,
you sign the check.
Sign that check.
Yep.
And it's actually a legal binding contract printed on the back of the check.
Yep.
Wow.
Well,
Wasn't John Romita Jr. he created the Prowler when John Romita Sr. was drawing Spider-Man, and it was an idea that he sketched for his dad to draw, if I remember correctly.
I haven't heard that. That's kind of cool.
I heard that it was actually John Romita Jr. as a kid was like, hey, Dad, put this character in, and that's how the Prowler.
Wow.
John Romita Jr.'s idea. Yeah.
I like the Prowler.
Got it.
There's some old checks I ran across the other day.
Wow. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Look at all the stuff on the back.
Oh, wow.
We own you.
Exactly.
Sign the dotted line.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Like I said, it's neither here nor there. It's just kind of a theory I've been working on a little bit, because I see a lot of this stuff, and I see a lot of people talking about. I don't really read Marvel or DC anymore, but I see a lot of people talking about it, and I don't see anyone saying anything good about Marvel or DC today, and so it just kind of makes me wonder, well, why not? Why are we not getting good content? And I think there's lots of reasons, but that's one of the theories.
I'll say something good.
Yeah.
I love them. I'm back in the UK now, so I've got back to the comic shop, and I've got my pull list every month now, and slowly it's getting more and more. And no, I love the stuff that some of the stuff they're banging out. I love the Johnny Cage stuff. I love the Thor, and I love the Venom stuff they're doing with Venom. And,
I have Avengers and Iron Man on my pull list.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I've got Iron Man. Got Iron Man number one the other day.
And Donny Cates has become their rock star.
Yeah, he's
I always tend to follow the writers and the artists
Yeah.
over a character. If someone's really I likes doing an obscure character, then yeah, I'll probably still get that book to see what they do.
Just because I complain about them doesn't mean I still don't have my favorites that I follow. It's just
Oh yeah.
it's just that I think that there's so many more original ideas out there. They're still enjoyable, the storylines that I'm reading, but they have to be kept within the constraints of the corporate
Yes.
Yes, of
ideal.
course. Yeah.
The corporate ideal. And I think that there are so many amazing, interesting ideas that are being explored out there in indie comics that DC and Marvel can't do.
Yeah.
So,
No.
you know, I have pull lists for independents. I have pull lists for DC and Marvel, you know.
Yeah.
That's usually where I come up to, and just because there's just so many different unique things, especially independent scene, that comics have grown out so much that I mean I like the X-Men, and I apparently the new one Hickman stuff's supposed to be good.
Yeah.
I read some stuff in the library and I'm just like, oh, that's okay. You know, I don't know. But every once in a while, that's usually where I read most of my superhero stuff. Like I'll read like an event or something happened like 3 years ago. Like I'll read it from the library. I'm like, oh, okay. But every time I go back to superhero stuff and read it, it still kind of feels like the same in that, like, yeah, I like it, but the ideas generating here are just not enough for me to go month to month. I mean, it was a fun read, but I'm getting myself personally more out of independent stuff written by other people, especially independent artists. And I think that also comes from me just researching what other independent writers or artists are doing in their own work and not something produced by a corporation.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I am enjoying Dan Slott's writing.
Yeah, I enjoy his stuff. Yeah. I haven't read Fantastic Four, but I want to try and catch up with that.
Yeah, I considered buying them, but when they relaunched, but when I looked, they had like 40 different covers, and I couldn't make up my
That's
mind.
ridiculous.
Yeah, but I'm kind of like you, Pete. Though I'll follow creators. You know, one of my all-time favorites is Walter Simonson, and I'll pretty much, I'll pretty much buy anything that Walt Simonson does, if I'm aware of it anyway. Just, I love what he does, and so. So I will buy it. Yeah,
I'm the same way. Like even though I'm a big Wonder Woman fan, I mean John Byrne. I'll go out of my way to buy John Byrne stuff. I like his writing sensibility and stuff. Some writers and stuff. Some of the newer writers I don't remember as much. Like Bendis, like I know Bendis, I've read stuff of his, but I wouldn't be able to point out like a Bendis comic or other stuff. But like John Byrne, Claremont, those old writers, I will go out of my way to read some.
I will confess I haven't read a lot of Bendis, but about the 4 or 5 issues that I've read of his, I will say that I'm not a fan.
Yeah, he's definitely. I've heard people. I've read, like I said, if you gave me a book and I didn't know it was written by Bendis, I wouldn't be able to point it out.
Yeah.
But I do know people have said he's an acquired taste here.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Here's a thought. I mean, do you think it's like music, right? You kind of a lot of people kind of have their core run of music.
Yeah.
Okay, when I'm in high school and college, that's when I have my specific music taste. I observe all these artists, these creators, and that's where I am. And I kind of, at least my personal, kind of stay locked in that to some degree. Yeah, new artists come and go, but that's my time. I kind of feel like when you talk to comic book fans, everybody has their run. Okay, my run was the Claremont Byrne run. That was my run. Okay, my run was this run. And then you kind of phase out and you move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Do you feel that, I mean, what do you folks feel? Do you feel that that's kind of a semi-truism, or is it just taste change? Or, I mean, I'd be curious what everybody's thoughts are on it.
I was huge. I was huge on the Giffen DeMatteis JLA. I mean, thought that run was just, is it DeMatteis or DeMatteis?
I think it's DeMatteis. Yeah, DeMatteis.
Oh, I thought that run was fantastic. The writing and the art and everything was just fantastic.
Yeah, I have to agree with Curtis. I do that. In fact, it could be a curse, a little bit, because I'm always looking for that thrill, that almost like a drug, druggie. I'm looking for that hit I got when I read, like, I was a big fan of the original Ninja Turtles or Alien Legion or X-Men, Claremont, that sort of hit, that rush. And I still can, but it's harder to find it now.
Dreadstar.
I think it's just because, again, that just comes from discovering something new as a kid and getting excited about new medium
Right.
or property.
Well,
Yeah.
that's kind of that whole chasing the dragon kind of thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
like in my personal life, I go, there's things like there's places I've lived, things I've experienced, and I go, God, I want to move back to that city or experience that.
Right.
And then I go back and I go, no, I don't want to be in this place. I want to be who I was
Right.
at that
Right.
moment in time. And that's like that ever chasing dream, right? I wonder how much of it is that too with the things we love or the comic books or things like that. I can't be that 12-year-old kid that was
Right,
reading,
right.
Jim
you know,
Starlin's
Claremont.
Dreadstar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was from First Comics. That wasn't fitting any corporate mold, and
Yeah.
I just love that series. And now he's doing it again. So I'm hoping that the same thrill is there when I read this new series that he just
Yeah.
kickstarted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that, though, Curtis. I think there's a lot of it is that, there's I don't know if it's the discovery time. When you discover comics, you find that thing that you like. But yeah, for me, I always, when people ask, I always point back to the Roy Thomas, Steve Englehart Avengers,
Yeah.
Nostalgia.
Yeah, those were just, those were great. And I think there have been good stories to come after them. I think Shooter did some good stories to follow. I think Roger Stern did some really good stories that followed those. But I look back on, well, here's what Roy Thomas and Steve Englehart did, and no one has been able to match that since.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a challenge if you go back and read it. Like sometimes there's things I go back and I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I should have revisited it. you know?
Yeah.
Like taking it back to the animation thing. I can go back to Akira any day of the week and I still get the feels on that thing. But there's other things where I go, oh wow,
It didn't stand up to
that,
this test of time.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe trying to binge
Well-
watch 3 seasons of Different Strokes wasn't a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, as much as I love Stan Lee's storytelling, when you go back and reread some Stan Lee comics, his dialogue is very dated. Hip cool daddies, it's very, I would argue that the stories are still good and powerful, but the language is dated. It is funny to kind of read them and come across all these 60s hippie,
Yeah. It's even like with the X-Men, the Dark Phoenix saga. I always tell people, it's been done to death, but yeah, you should read the original. And then I'm like, well, wait, how old are you?
Yeah.
like that may not work for you because I'm like,
Yeah.
that's when Kitty Pryde's doing her 60s, like skate, like she was like a roller
Yeah.
skater or whatever. I'm like, it's
funny.
good.
Check out
It's dated.
Yeah.
Check out the original run of Dazzler if you really want to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well, all right. I guess we've anybody have anything else about animation?
Cartoon's good.
Cartoon's good. I agree. If you were all right, so let's kind of run around. If you were to pick one cartoon that you think, or not just cartoon, anything animated, it could be a movie, that someone that if you were just going to make one recommendation, if you were going to tell somebody, oh, listen, you haven't seen any cartoons, you need to watch this cartoon. What would it be? I'll go first. Mine would be the Flash or Superman cartoons.
I'll go the Batman animated series.
Oh, good
Yeah.
one.
I'll go Akira.
Akira.
Mine's a 2-parter, Akira and then Akira again. So that's
Mhm.
I'd probably have to say like a lot of the Don Bluth stuff, Secret of Nim.
Oh,
Oh, I love Secret of Nim. Yeah.
Land Before Time. I like Titan AE, Anastasia. But there's something I really liked his stuff. So that's when people like he's trying animation. I'm like, well, yeah, start out in Don Bluth, like Secret of Nim. Go watch that. That's really cool. And which is really more adult. I mean, you watch that movie today, and it's got some scary scenes in it, which I liked about that.
I got it on VHS.
yeah. I made the mistake of selling all my VHS tapes too early. I got rid of them, but now I wish I had them back to sell. 'Cause I had a whole bunch of Disney VHS, and if I had them today,
I'd get a whole lot more money for them than I did when I sold them.
Yeah.
How much does Disney VHS going for these days? Because I got a stack like this.
They're pretty decent chunk of change you can get. Because they don't
Really?
make because they don't make the VHSs anymore.
Good
They're
Lord,
more
I-
for just collector's items, I think.
Yep,
Just
they
the
are
package.
very much collector's items.
Holy cow.
John, what about you?
I'm gonna have to say the '90s X-Men
90s X-Men.
and Ninja Scrolls.
Yeah.
'Cause
That was up there with Akira. Same time as Akira.
yeah, I mean, because I saw it and it's just Jubei is awesome. That's all I have to say there.
See, my dream would be that director of Ninja Scroll doing the Samurai Saga of Wolverine. That would be
Yeah.
my dream animation. That would be. That's
Oh,
what
that
I
would
want.
be awesome.
I'm just throwing that out there to the universe.
In case the universe is listening.
Yeah, and if I can, since I have the mic, one thing I want to say, I've been watching Pete's work. It's so
Yeah.
cool to see your work, Pete, because when you're watching him, it's like he's drawing in 2D, but it's almost like sculptures. I mean, you can see him doing those ellipses. It's like watching him sculpt.
Yeah.
And that's such a cool thing to watch. I hope the fans at home are watching this stuff because it's really neat to see how he thinks and how he works stuff.
Yeah, the reason that none of them have got any hair or clothes at the moment is because this is where I've got to put them in their teched up armor. So I haven't really figured that bit out yet. so they're just blank models for the moment until I gear them up.
What a letdown, Peter. I thought it was a nudie book. Great.
They're
Wow. Okay.
just all Ken dolls, just a load of
No,
Ken
no,
dolls.
just Ken dolls.
That'll be a special edition too. We'll just have the Ken doll
Yeah,
version.
the
where,
Ken
you know,
dolls fighting.
it's
Ken
all
doll
these-
Barbie special.
Yeah.
And you got to draw in the little built-in underwear on the Ken dolls. The little
Yeah.
hint of it.
I'll just we'll
Yeah,
do
they're
this.
very, looking very neutered there.
Yeah, there you
There you
go.
go.
Well, this escalated quickly.
Cool. If I could draw a book just like this, it'll be so quick. That's all you get. No hair, no clothes, just pants.
It's like the bare bottom tier. It's like for $2 you get a
Yeah.
PDF.
Yeah.
You know, mannequins.
Yeah.
Then we add layers of clothes on for each reward
For,
level.
for how much money you pay, right?
Yeah, exactly. Which is kind of the opposite of how it works in the real world, right? You know?
I swear, Curtis, you are a marketing genius.
Thank you. I'll be here all week.
I would
For
consider
this
free
tier,
for
we're
this.
gonna you'll have Unix.
Maybe the entire scene here, because I don't know the scene, but maybe they're fighting over one pair of pants. Like there's one pair of pants that go around, and that's what they're fighting over.
It's just flying out. He's got the pair there.
He's got the pair. He's winning.
That's good stuff.
These are my
Go ahead.
trousers.
I know.
Yeah, but you know the brilliance of Curtis's statement is that it's opposite of the way it works in the real world.
Yeah.
You got to pay to get him to take stuff off.
we could reverse the tier. We could reverse the tier, like, you know, we start G and then just
Yeah.
anyways, I'm incriminating myself so much. I'm gonna go on mute right now.
He's laughing too hard now. All right. Well, I guess it's 11 p.m. and I am surprised. There's some things I couldn't figure out. Like I just couldn't figure out how to get that second screen up. But I am glad that I figured out how to get everybody here onto the stream. So I'm patting myself on the back because I wasn't sure I would be able to do that with just 30 minutes time. So
You
anyway.
didn't cut us off, so.
No, didn't none of the streams cut off. So I'm happy. They're in all three locations, and it'll just get better from here, right? All right, so let's run around the clock and tell folks first. Actually, before we do that, don't forget the Kickstarter. Let me go and pop over so I can get all the numbers right. So we are at 119 backers. We've got 4350. So we are 150 away from our first stretch goal, which is a bookmark for all of the $20 and higher reward tiers. So that's most of the print tiers, not the very bottom print tiers, but most of the print tiers. And then, of course, that means we're $650 away from the second stretch goal, which is scans of the original Cat and Mouse #1, which is in color, and also the original handwritten script for that very same issue. These are not made anymore. The first volume of Cat and Mouse, the bulk of its, well, everything but this issue was all in black and white. So you'll get to see what it looked like in 1989 color fashion. So pop on over there, give us a look, see if you can't find something that you can pledge to, and if you can't, if the plague has you strapped, share this link with people who you know who enjoy comics, because these are fun. They're like Silverline comics. These are fun comics. They're meant to be fun. We think that when you're finished with them, you're gonna go, "Whew, that was fun. Where's the next one?" So get on over there, check it out, and now let's go around the clock. Tell everybody where they can find you. Barb.
Barb Kailberg. I am the only Barb on the internet, so Barb Kailberg, I should say. So you can find me on Facebook under Barbara Kailberg. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, DeviantArt under Barbara Kailberg.
Nice. Curtis, can you talk now?
Yes, I can. I've composed myself. So
Where can folks find you on the interwebs?
yeah, you can find me on Facebook. It's Curtis Fujita. You can also find me via my martial arts school on Instagram and YouTube. It's Tiger Crane, one word, 805. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And before I forget, I'm sure everybody shares my sentiment. We want to thank everybody for supporting the Kickstarter.
Absolutely.
It already funded
Yes.
in really good time, so we
Yeah.
really appreciate that. And
Yes, thank
everybody's
you
support.
so much.
Yeah, and I'll hand it off to Pete, because I'm sure Pete also wants to remind everybody he's got some awesome commissions going on. You've got to see his work live.
I do
And
do
he's
commissions.
open for commissions, people. So
That's
Right.
right. Yeah.
hand off to
You
Pete.
just got to mess me. So best place to find me is Peter Clinton Art, and that's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's all the same, so it's nice and easy. Just send me a direct message if you want a commission. My prices are all up there.